doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome to the People's Weekly. I'm here with Canadian Glenn and Nolan Hack today, and I'm turning down the music slowly. There we go. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back, Nolan. How am I doing? It's fucking cold here.
What's cold, says the man who lives in Los Angeles.
It's been freezing here.
It's been chilly. There's no such thing as freezing in Southern California.
Oh. Yeah, but Glenn is way colder in Canada. He
That's what I'm saying,
explaining
yeah.
it to me.
We don't know what cold is. We get a little chill here and there. We don't know what cold is.
No, you don't. I think currently here it is about minus. Well, actually, it warmed up today. It's only minus 21 Celsius.
Mother of white Jesus. Jeez.
So that's like 10 below Fahrenheit.
Wow. Jeez.
That's incomprehensible.
Yeah, completely incomprehensible.
Yeah, I'm freezing right now, Glenn. And what is it, like 58 or something? That's Fahrenheit. So yeah, there's no view up here this month. Is that what we are to understand still?
That is correct.
Yeah, but the people on Wednesday weren't worried all of a sudden because that's when we dropped the music to riot to save the people from misery, not hearing the view up here. We gave them something. It's not a view up here, but music to riot to is a close second, I think. So it was Rage Against the Enemy. That's out now. Check it out. PeoplesRadioUnited.com. Click on the Music to Riot to little banner and it'll be there. Because this show bumps it. It was the main show on the page. Now this show is the main show on the page. It just works like that.
Yeah, I listened to it. Good job.
Yeah. They'll get better and better in time. I'm still learning this thing, but the scratching is improving and the mixes are getting better slowly. But they're cool. You can hear the music and they still bump. So the problems I see, some people might, other people might not be so critical. They just want to hear the music. But to those who see the problems, I see them too, and they're getting worked on. What were you saying, Nolan?
It's damn good music. I just want to give Tim props for putting together these mixes. Mad dope. Beautiful mixture of revolutionary words from speeches of great activists to beautiful music from great artists. It's great stuff. If you haven't checked it out on PeoplesRadioUnited.com.
Yeah, the last one, there wasn't many speeches other than what was already in the music with Public Enemy or whatever. Because I figured the groups were already revolutionary groups, so I just let it go the way it is. The next one's going to be called All Power to the People, and that's going to have speeches back mixed into a lot of other music. So, and then after that, there'll probably be a part 2 of Rage Against the Enemy coming because they have so many songs. I just picked like a tiny little nothing out of all the, the whole list of songs I have for these groups. Public Enemy and Rage Against the Machine, they have their catalogs are huge.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, there'll be at least 1 or 2 more of those coming out every so often. Oh, we're on Twitter already. Just like Glenn said.
We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook.
No, I mean, we already have tweets going. I'm retweeting right now. That's why I'm being silent. I need to look up the first topic so we can get started and quit boring people. we go. The first topic. Um, wait. In Virginia, Governor Northam wait, let me start again. In Virginia, Governor Northam admitted to wearing blackface, and Lieutenant Governor Fairfax has been accused of sexual assault. Neither will resign, and their party won't force them out of office. Evidently, the Democrats are cool with blackface and racism and sexual assault as long as it's Democrats doing it. If a Republican will possibly take their position if they resign or get ousted. So yeah, I read that pretty bad, kind of like Trump reads a speech. But basically, yeah, these two, the governor admitted to being in those pictures with the KKK and the blackface when he didn't say which one he was. And the next day he kind of said, "Oh, I lied. I wasn't really in the pictures, but I did blackface dressed as Michael Jackson." So people started getting on him to resign. And then you have the lieutenant governor, Fairfax, who's supposed to take his position. He's now charged with sexual assault, forcing himself on some woman. So now the Democrats are totally like, oh, well, we can't make him resign because then a Republican might take the position. We might lose Virginia. That's so hypocritical. That's like saying you don't really care at all.
Yeah, that's the fallacy right there. The harm of, well, the lesser of two evils. We have to go with the lesser of two evils. 9 out of 10 times the Democrat's better than the Republican, so we have to support the Democrat. Well, you want to change out a racist for a possible rapist just because one's a Democrat?
I'm like this, all of them. If they don't kick these two fools out, I don't care who takes over. I'm saying if they don't, they need to shut up about everything. Because you know what? The guy there over here screaming about Trump, he's a racist and he's a sexual assaulter. So if they're going to let it go on with these cats, and they need to let it go on with everybody, right? You just look like a hypocrite yelling at one person on one side, the red guy's wrong. And that's gangbanging, dude, isn't it? These cats with this rag in this neighborhood are messed up. These cats in this neighborhood are doing the same thing, but they're cool because they're my people, right? That's gangbanging on a higher level. What else is it?
Well, this goes back to, if we're talking about American politics, a long time of either side of the aisle as far as when the Democrats and the Republicans came to the table. You have whether rapists, you have a more outwardly racist person, and they come from both sides of the aisle, and that's what people do not want to admit, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. And you talk about sexual assault and sexual harassment, the Me Too movement. I mean, look at your current Congress. You've got a congressman from Nevada accused of sexual harassment, Ruben Cohen. He's still in office. Okay, no one. I haven't heard anybody talk about him.
Also, here's the other thing. You just reminded me. The senator of Virginia is a Republican. Now he did some military yearbook, which is the most racist thing I've ever seen in a long time. It's just all blackface and terrible. Oh man, it uses the N-word how many times in this? And this is a U.S. military school yearbook. And the Democrats are complaining about him, though. No, you need all of them ousted. The Republican, both Democrats. None of them should be there.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the system is rotten to its core. I've said this 4 billion times, whoever jumps into Washington politics is a horrible person. They've done horrible things. They're going to keep doing horrible things. Doesn't matter if they're from the left, from the right, from the middle. Another Congressman, Bobby Scott, accused of sexual misconduct, and he's still in office. Of course, the President of the United States, rapist, possible child rapist, still in office. There has not been one effort to impeach Trump on the basis of his sexual assaults and sexual misconduct accusations. Not one. Even when Bill Clinton was impeached because he lied about cheating on his wife, he wasn't impeached because he possibly raped, I believe it's Jessica Braddock. I believe is her name. May botch that. He and then he
impeached for lying
got
under oath.
He got to finish his 2 terms. So, I mean, the third president of the United States was a child rapist. He forced a girl to be impregnated multiple times of 6 kids. Sally Hemings was her name, and he's one of the greatest heroes in American history. That's the way he's talked about. Even the black guy, senator, new presidential candidate, Cory Booker, loves Thomas Jefferson, talks about him all the time, quoted him at the 2016 DNC. So I mean, I said this before the show, a lot of things we're going to talk about today is very normal. Yeah, this is American politics. And especially when you're in a setting of white power, whether it's you happen to be a person of color, especially if you're a guy, you get to have some of that fallout of that white power, whether you be Bobby Scott, who was sadly a black dude, Barack Obama, who bombed Arab children back to the Stone Age, turned his own people into slaves. Donald Trump, white dude, rapist. This is the people you're going to get. These are the people that you are going to be left with, and the fact that you have the governor and the lieutenant governor, Northam and Fairfax. That right there proves the whole lesser of 2 evil thing is just horseshit. That if the system doesn't go, it's one thing to vote. I'm not shaming anybody for voting because it does minimize damage here and there. But if we don't take effort to rip this system apart, just like Angela Davis, who's still alive, Sitting Bull, rest in peace, rest in power, Martin Luther King, etc., told us to do. If we don't take efforts to tear this system apart, this is never going to stop.
Yeah, but these people need to wake up to their parties, man. I mean,
they do.
You can't say, "Oh, these Republicans are rapists. These Republicans are racist. These Republicans are sexual predators." And it's going on in your party, and you just turning a blind eye, like, "Well, we can't let the Republicans take control." It just doesn't make sense
hypocrisy.
to me.
It's absolute hypocrisy. And the thing, I mean,
why did the comedian quit? Well, what's his name? Oh, L. Franken.
Right? Yeah.
Because he's a Democrat. That's why.
They have more.
I'm saying he resigned. Like these cats are refusing to resign. At least he did the noble thing afterwards. But these cats are refusing to resign. Can't they be pushed out? Censure them or something?
Yeah, but you got to remember, Al Franken was what, like 2 years ago? It
was a while. Well, and also one reason why he caught someone's heat is because he's a lot more popular than anybody in Congress. The guy was on SNL. He does have some celebrity cachet. His news hit the fan a lot harder than someone like Bobby Scott, for example. No one, or Reuben Cohen. No one has been talking about them.
Okay, but I'm just going to say this. They're both terrible, but squeezing breasts for a photo op while someone's sleeping is a horrible thing. But I don't know if anyone might agree with me. It's not as bad as forced oral sex. You see what I'm saying? Like he resigned because of that, and he should have. But this guy's accused of forced oral sex with that woman. Like he needs to at
Wait,
least step down until it's worked
and
out or
Fairfax has
something.
multiple women coming out saying
Oh,
that
does he?
he sexually assaulted them, and one of them said it was at the 2004 Democratic National Convention. This woman I think she has a PhD, and so there's two different women. The other, I don't know what the particulars of the other one, but there's two different women who have said that he sexually assaulted her. Now, usually when something like that happens in a job setting, because these people in Congress that's their job, they're Congress people. Okay, usually when that happens, the folks who oversee, supervisors, what have you, bosses, say, all right, you know what, we're going to send you home. Unpaid leave, paid leave, or you're fired, or what have you. None of that. No impeachment hearings, nothing. This is what happens almost every single time.
You know why? Nolan, you said this is indicative of the American political system. No, it's not. It's indicative of American culture.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going on.
Well,
That's
and
it. It's beyond your political system.
Yeah, this is, and you take it further. This is white culture as well.
Yep.
You can study your native history or your African history, and you look at how this stuff didn't happen, let alone at these kind of rates. I mean, everybody's going to sadly, rape somebody, assault somebody, harass somebody, but nothing like this, and it wasn't embedded in our cultures. If a man did this, they were exiled or even killed or what have you. Here, the go-to move for a dude when he hears another dude allegedly assaulted a woman is, well, has she lied before? What was she wearing? Why did she go into that location? Blame the victim, and then try to make the alleged assaulter the victim.
I don't remember which state, but there's some women out there. A woman actually is doing this, trying to pass a law that says if a woman is raped and it depends on how drunk she is, how guilty the guy is. So she's really, really drunk, he might not be guilty of rape, as if she's not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're going to say because she's drunk, she caused it. That's insane.
Well, and that sadly is white culture. I mean, look at how my folks are talked about. When we stand up and go, look, we're tired of racism, we're tired of being oppressed, we're tired of being feel like we're subhuman. Can y'all stop it? And then white folks go, well, why don't you fix your own communities? Why don't you do this yourself? And for one, that's what we've been trying to do since colonization first happened in 1444. We've been trying to rebuild communities. We've been fighting back, whether with silent protests, whether with the armies that we've had fighting back against colonialists. So it's always blame the victim and try to flip the situation on its head. The fact that Christine Ford, the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing, the fact she caught any flack is ridiculous. It shows you how violent and disgusting and warped this society is, and the collective mindset of it. She says, look, this dude raped me. Then other women come up. This dude raped me. Here's all this evidence and first-hand accounts and all this. Like, oh, wow, he looks like he's a rapist. Okay. Yet, to combat it in Europe, it's taking the male mind who defended Kavanaugh, in that person's mind, they're going, well, look, okay, she's lying. she's ridiculous, she's hysterical, this is what women do, they just try to blame us, cry oppression, blah, 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 rape culture, the myth, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, well, you know what, I'm going to send rape and death threats to this woman to prove that she wasn't raped. Huh? That's what we're dealing with here.
And that's your culture. That's the problem.
But they jump on the Democrats. Like, it's the same thing with the Republicans. They jump on the Democrats as soon as something happens. They don't look at their own backyard like, oh, this is our people doing the same thing.
That's also American culture. The most important thing is be on the winning team.
Yeah.
That's just...
It's asinine. And
they're very fine people, those
rapists. Oh, jeez. Yeah, and it's funny, you can use that quote from Trump to talk about either side, if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Oh, they're very fine people. Or, you look at a lot of these, even white activists, you'll see some who are on the left, allegedly for people of color, and then they say or do something. Wait a minute, you sound just like them. And then, of course, the other side being so overtly racist. But the hypocrisy of all this is just astounding. Democrats, liberals, for me, they annoy me more often than conservatives do, because you're expecting a Republican to say something stupid and outwardly racist, but then liberals, they try to veil it, they try to hide it, they try to put it in a neat little package, and then say something to defend all this mess that continues to be inflicted upon us. And in actuality, if you look at the foundation, the creation of liberalism, it was copied off of conservatism. And then if you actually look at the founder of liberalism, John Locke was the snow demon's name, the dude had a fortune in the Atlantic slave trade. His own writings are telling you how great native genocide is and land theft, how necessary slavery is. And this is what, I'll take my own folks for God's sake, this is what Kamala Harris, Barack Obama are preaching to the world. This is what's going to save us. White supremacy is going to save us from white supremacy.
See, I think this is an important factor because, if you want to go back, especially in the political arena, how long this has been normal operating procedure. I mean, you can go back to the American Revolutionary War for that. But I mean, like I've said before, Harry S. Truman. He's a son of a bitch, but he's our son of a bitch. And I think the difference is, like, there's been a lot of talk about it lately. Some people spending, upwards of 5 seconds thinking about the mid-20th century. But you look at the maximum tax rate in the United States. You go back to FDR and Truman and Eisenhower and Kennedy and Johnson. And everybody's shitting their pants over Ocasio-Cortez talking about a 70% tax. Well, when that great winning 5-star general Dwight Eisenhower was president, top tax rate was over 80%. So I think part of the reason that everything has become so polarized, so, well, it's a bad term to use, but so black and white, is because everybody who's within the game has a lot more to lose. And that's made it more bipolar. I mean, back in the days of Eisenhower or Kennedy or even Johnson, when there was something that was really, really ugly, people would get ostracized from their parties because, everybody was more or less within the club on the same level. It ain't like that no more. It ain't even close to that anymore. There's just so much more involved now. If you were a lifetime congressman in the 60s, you made a decent living, but you didn't have 10 offers of board seats when you finally left Congress. You didn't have contractors putting 6 digits into your campaign regularly. Everything is just so pumped up that, you got to face it. If you're sitting at a table and somebody says, we'll give you this, and they put something in front of you, okay, you can see it, you can think about it, except now it doesn't come in a bag now. Now it comes in a sea container. Everything is so much more now. The money, the guarantees of a soft life, free education for your kids at Ivy League schools. The more bribes and incentivization that happens, the more rigidly you have to play ball or you're out. And what we're seeing is very, very few people will say, fine, I'm out. And Al Franken was one of them.
Yeah, and you spoke on Ocasio-Cortez and her idea of a high tax rate. Everything they come up with, left or right, for ideas of how they're spinning it to us, how to fix the system. Yeah, everything's just so compromised. Why are you talking about raising the tax rate when instead you could go after, or on top of, obviously the rich need to pay more taxes, but why aren't you going, hey, look, let's just stop all these wars. Let's stop sending the military to all these countries of color. Let's stop making new nuclear weapons and refurbishing our old ones. Why don't we just stop giving Israel $1 bajillion a day, it seems like? Why don't you stop all that? That way we'll have money for free education, free health care. But everything's so compromised. Everything has to stay on that crooked line in Washington.
Well, that's just it. That's outside manufactured consent. You talk about the rich because it's an identifiable group that you can put a shingle on and point at. You don't talk about evils of the empire because that brings up too many questions. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Who the fuck started this? We don't want to talk about this. You pick out a group, and if Ocasio-Cortez was to start talking about the military-industrial complex, she wouldn't be getting the attention she's getting.
Mm-hmm.
And
but she said money from the military-industrial complex for her campaign, so it'd be a little short-sighted of her to actually do that.
Well, when in Rome. The thing is, too, you have to remember, it doesn't matter what party you're for. It doesn't matter if you've got a green horn growing out of your forehead. If polling says you're going to be the next House of Representatives member for a certain district, these corporations will come to you.
Oh, yeah.
And push money at you. So, let's be real. If you're trying to win, you need money. Doesn't matter what you believe, what you're going to do. That's just part of the formula. If you want to win, you need money.
You have to run. You have to run as one of the two evil parties, fascist parties, and you need money. So they do tie you in. You said that before, Glenn. You have to be a certain kind of person to even get into it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's part of the unwritten rules. Any third party will never have funding the way the American system works.
Of course not. I mean, all three of us said this in different ways since since this show was started and this network was started, and even before that, we just saying our piece in public. But you can't enter Washington politics and be successful without selling your soul. It's impossible.
Absolutely.
It is impossible. And I know, as a black person, that when we see another person of color, when we see another black person in office or running, we get excited because representation does matter. But at the same time, in this arena, it's very faulty because it doesn't matter if you're black, gay, trans, woman, native, Japanese. Does not make a damn difference. If you enter Washington politics, you have sold out. Your soul's gone. You're an asshole. That's the end of the story. Someone like Shirley Chisholm is the perfect example of this. Amazing activist for years and years. Did so much for the black community. Then she goes, well, you know what? I think I'm going to join Congress. I think I want to join Congress. And I have the idea, let's fix it from the inside. She gets in there. She turns into a Zionist. She went to Israel. She knew better. It's not, it's one thing, before the internet, before text messaging, it's lightning fast information carried from one part of the world to another. She went to, well, I should say Palestine. It should still be called Palestine, but I digress. She knew better. No. She supported the genocide of Palestinians as a congressperson. So this is what it is. And whether it's AOC, whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's Deb Haaland, Cory Booker, you name it, these are horrible human beings. And yet most people, because of indoctrination, and including people of color, anybody, most people of any creed in this nation, because of the indoctrination and the brainwashing, buy into it, whether, if they're into politics a little bit. If they're a Democrat, oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, yeah. Cory Booker, a black dude, he looks cool. He's talking about the streets, although he's lying about it. Hey, yeah, I'll vote for Cory. Camilla, a black woman. All right, I'll automatically support her. Deb Haaland, and Cerise Davids, the first self-identifying Native women to join Congress. Oh, well, representation. We don't need to think any harder than that. So let's just support them. And these are, you could look at everyone, and I've tweeted the same thing. It takes me 5 minutes or less, and I can't name every congressperson off the top of my head. I can't name, I don't know every governor in the United States, but it takes me 5 minutes when I find out about a new Washington politician to find this ugly dirt on them, horrible deeds that they've done. They are all guilty. There's not like that one person. Well, what about that one? No, they're all horrible. They'll all continue to be horrible, until the system is gone. It's like the cops.
These people do like apologetic gymnastics, man. When it comes to like Booker or Harris. These Democrats will go. You'll show them the video of her laughing about taking kids from, locking parents away if their kids miss school, and all these. And you can show her records. This is how terrible a person she is. They call her the Camilla the cop or whatever, right? Because that's what she is. She loves police murdering black people in the streets. She loves it. Yeah. She loves seeing a majority of black people locked up in jail for BS crimes, nonviolent crimes. She loves it. But these people will look at all this and man, the gymnastics they use to get around, and then but she's not terrible, or You're not reading it wrong. How many people did she actually lock up, or this or that? It's crazy. And then you answer that, and they still have another. They keep moving the goalposts back, just because they're gonna do the same thing they did like with Hillary Clinton. Is why she probably lost too. All they had is if you don't vote for her, you hate women. So now let's say if you don't vote for Harris, you hate black women. You know what I mean? That's all they have. They have these scum that are just a tad above a Republican as far as scumminess. And they'll go bend over backwards talking about how great these people are. Might as well be Candace Owens. I just read that. Fuck Candace Owens. Sorry.
Well, I mean, what you're describing makes it sound like there is an actionable plan. But it's gotten so bad, in my opinion, that there are no actionable plans. Everything is reaction. And just like now, there's an awful lot of analysis from an awful lot of different places that people say, Trump is the result of the road that the American political system has been on for, a few decades. And the way the amount of money has been allowed to influence everything, then you have huge disasters like 2008. Nothing changes. Just everybody gets some free money. Try not to fuck up again, boys. Here you go. Thanks. And now Trump is so ugly and so, what's the word I'm looking for? Is so dysfunctional.
I like fugly.
He's dysfunctional. He is about the worst person I could think of for being given the responsibilities and powers of that office. I can't really think of anybody with a worse personality and record that you could possibly put in that job. So,
yeah, that is interesting you said that, because I do cringe when people say he's like the worst president of all time. That's one that's just racist to say, because where are his slaves in the back of the White House? Where are all the native bodies that he's killed personally, like Jackson or Washington? But to your point, you're absolutely correct. He's so inept, so incompetent, more than any other president I could think of.
Yep.
And I remember, I was a little bit of a nerd, still am. When I was a kid, I studied president. I can't think of one who's this out of touch with reality. And I'm not gonna say it's a good thing, because I hate having to grab onto. Well, this horrible reality is a little bit better than this horrible reality. But I will say that because of his incompetence, sometimes the damage he's trying to cause oppressed people is minimized. And even though, look, he's done so much damage beyond repair, he'll continue to do that. But you look at someone like Hillary Clinton, you look at someone like Richard Nixon, speaking on my own people, the crime bill, okay, what she did to Haiti, what she did to Sudan, what Nixon did with the war on drugs. These very intelligent, devious, but very intelligent pieces of oppressive legislation to absolutely destroy the black communities, whether here or abroad. When he tries to do certain things, like a wall, speaking of people of color, for one, there's already parts of the border, there's already a wall, and then you're trying to make a full concrete or steel wall, whatever you and the contractor are theorizing here, but a complete wall from one side of the border to the other, west coast to east coast, it wastes all that money, and you're going to shut down the whole government for it. Like, do you know how policy works? Do you know how to get things passed? Did you see the damn Schoolhouse Rock when a bill becomes a law? Do you know anything?
No.
But this, he doesn't. You're right. this is Trump.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, I see a lot of merit in the theory that, take a look at the United States from basically Nixon forward. And, if you take a look at that whole view, Trump's not really that much of a surprise. I mean,
really.
To talk about incompetence, this is a man who had casino licenses in Atlantic City and put himself out of business by building too much competition. That's how fucking stupid this guy is. He just figured, I've got this casino, I'm making all this money. Let's build 3 more. Hey, how come we're going broke? That's how stupid he is. Like, how do you put yourself out of business running a casino? Well, let's build 3 more in the same market. And I have to pay for them all because they're all leveraged because I don't have any of my own goddamn money. But I'm making money in one, so I should make 4 times as much in 4, right? This is the guy who can destroy the world. This is everything has changed so much. Even you talk about the 90s and the way things were done. There still wasn't the amplification, the demonization publicly and as part of the process from day one like there is now. I mean, imagine if the Clinton crime bill was coming up now. You would see the people standing in the House, how they get to have their little display board beside them when they give a statement on a bill. We'd be seeing the pictures of Willie Horton and all that kind of shit. Even though it was very ugly when it happened, the environment is way uglier now. And everything has escalated where I think the idea in the United States is you're not allowed to be neutral.
No, you're not. Well, even when you try to be neutral, you can't be neutral because if you're just going, well, both sides have good points, I don't care enough or I don't want to get in trouble, well, your passive behavior is giving the evil side ammo. So you're supporting that. It's like racism. Well, I mean, slavery was bad and civil rights and all that. But I mean, I get the whole post-racial society idea, and I don't want to rock the boat. So, let's just all hold hands and everything's fine. Well, you're contributing to the problem, so.
Oh, of course. Silence is acceptance. And I mean, that's the one thing that you're not allowed to say.
And I will say that if the Clinton crime bill came up in the Congress today, it would still get passed because we've had a black president flip Libya on its head, turning into a slave state. We've had the Supreme Court issue a law that says that cops can shoot first and ask questions later. So this it would still be passed. There would be more outrage to it because of social media, because of the uptick of the 24-hour news cycle. But I'm fairly sure it would still pass. So I mean, we still have Democrats and Republicans funding the military every time there's like a $700 billion budget for the military. We still have left, right, and center defending cops, taking money from police departments for their campaigns. Jeff Merkley, for example, who's so against ICE, he took money from one of the Oregon police departments, and of course has stayed quiet about what ICE has been doing since he got into office. So this is American politics, white politics. You have the United Kingdom. Too many people are trying to defend Brexit, hoping it goes through, because they're sick of seeing people of color, even though the United Kingdom were the ones to bring people of color into the country in the damn first place, and then continue to devastate countries of color, creating uninhabitable societies, and having them flee to try to get a better life. But sometimes, sadly, it's going to Europe, France, England, etc. That was what is called a tangent, folks.
Yeah, we need to move on. We're running out of time for the next topics. First of all, let's just do this. This topic we can all answer with like a yes or no. Is every McCain a racist piece of shit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yeah, the whole McCain family are racist pieces of shit. So that we don't even need to talk about it. The music to riot to. Listen to that, and you listen to the time I get to Arizona. By the time I get to Arizona, by Chuck D.
Yeah.
That's all about it. It starts there. Start with Arizona and Martin Luther King Day, and then go to what's her name, Cindy McCain or whatever, harassing some poor woman for having a child that she didn't think was the same race as her, so it had to be child trafficking, and calls the police on some woman for being dark. So yeah, the McCains are crap, and just look at all their history. They're crap.
And look how many Democrats and liberals heroized John McCain after he died, including the new coming of FDR, of JFK, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He was going, we've lost a great American. Oh, Johnny, I'm so sorry you died.
He was one of the quote-unquote good ones on the Republican side. That's what they say.
Voting against him okay day, but he's one of the good ones.
Yeah. This is he's such a racist, but they're cool with it. He's better than the other races, and not quite as good as a racist in their party. So that's how it works, I guess. Yeah, so moving on, the McCains are racist pieces of shit. This one, let's go over it quick because it's about celebrities. With so much racism and misconduct within our government, should we even care about racist entertainers like Liam Neeson and so many others who seem to get a pass after the outrage dies down? And if so, how do we get rid of them?
Again, this is part of the culture.
Yeah.
This has become part of the culture. It's just not a death sentence anymore. I mean, look what happened career-wise. I mean, look at Harrison Ford when he had his anti-Jewish blow-up.
No, I didn't hear about that.
How long ago is that now? It's like maybe 10 years. And it basically stopped his career dead. Now, people like Liam Neeson have releases like this ahead of a premiere because it's good for the numbers. This is the change. And that's culturally driven.
Oh, do you mean Mel Gibson?
Oh, sorry, yes.
I was like, wait a minute, not Han Solo, too.
No.
I was about to start crying there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
To be fair, Mel Gibson's still acting.
But he ain't Mel Gibson anymore.
It's true, but he's still allowed to act. He was in a movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. That was the advertising for it was huge. He's got multiple movies coming out, including one with Sean Penn. So even though his career is not as big as it used to be, obviously, Braveheart and all that, he's still allowed to make a bunch of money. He was on both Colbert and Kimmel, and probably Fallon too. But I remember seeing him on Kimmel, And it was all playful, just like Fallon was with Trump, for example. It was all playful. They did this thing where they're going to shave his head and his beard because he's looked like a mountain man since all the racist stuff came out, and it was like in a street in L.A. and someone was just shaving his hair, and it was all funny. Like, what are you doing? Why is he on your show? Why are you trying to make this guy look like a decent dude? And Mel Gibson on Colbert late night CBS, he was lying down with Stephen Colbert, like looking at the stars, and they were talking about what nonsense, funny late night banter. And Colbert? What's your problem? But again, these white people especially, we didn't forgive them, or they didn't do anything wrong.
Well,
let's just move on. It's not that big of a deal. Look how many people with Megyn Kelly's blackface. How many? Granted, she thankfully got fired, but how many people were defending her? No, that's not real blackface, and then 2, blackface isn't that bad. It's not even bad. People act. People, want to be other people.
But see, this is my point. These people are getting paid what they're getting paid because they say what they're told to say. And this is what I mean, where this is being culturally driven. When Mel Gibson shows up on all the network late night shows, it's because the apparatus put him there. The studio wants him on network talk shows because they have a movie coming out.
Promotions. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's no longer a bad thing to have somebody represent you for a 4-minute segment with somebody else who has a popular opinion in the viewing public. So that minimizes your piece of shit. And we'll just exchange some money back and forth. And then, if you want to do a cameo in this guy's next movie, we can make that happen. But it's all started way, you hear the old stories about Johnny Carson used to just call people and ask them to come on his show.
Yeah.
Things don't work like that anymore. Colbert, all these people, they're paid to sit in a fucking chair and read the teleprompter. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't produce. That's it. And I mean, that's why there's so many salesmen these days. Because there's so few distribution centers. I mean, that's what I mean. This is culturally driven. This isn't just a general reawakening of evil intent and ridiculous racism and homophobia and everything else. It's not that people are just suddenly becoming cavemen again. They're being told that it's okay. In fact, it's kind of cool. We think you should do it. And why? Why? Because it works for the people who are on the top. Because they're getting fewer and fewer, and we are getting more and more. So get all those fucking people away from us. Turn them on each other.
Yeah, it's all for the money and promotion of whatever project's coming out. But the thing about Liam Neeson that's so disgusting is he didn't just say some racist stuff. He talked about his friend was raped, and his first question is, what color was the person who did it? And when she said black, he went out hoping to be yelled at or approached by some random black person, not the rapist, not the person that did this, some random black person on the street so he can beat him to death with this stick he had. So, I don't know. I haven't seen, Nolan could tell me if I'm wrong. Isn't his movie like where he's
it's
white
his character.
family, his white family gets kidnapped?
Yeah, taken.
He has to go. Yeah. Does he just go and kill random white people, like the white people that killed his white family? Or does he actually hunt down the right people?
But you see, that's just it. He's playing off his character. This is how he makes money. This is how he gets movie roles.
He even said that during the interview.
Yeah.
He said that point blank, which is so. I mean,
He said what?
when oh, he said, people go to my movies, that they'll have some, angst, their feelings, some anger they want to get out. They see my movie, they feel a little satisfied because the good guy beat up or beat down the bad guy,
Is
and
it
then,
black people who takes or kidnaps his family in these movies, or is it white people?
I only saw Taken one. I believe I know the first one. I believe they were Arab.
Oh,
Um,
see, I didn't know that. I thought it was just like some people trying to scam him that he knew. I've never
yeah,
seen him. Oh,
I
so it
don't
is
know.
it's dark. Does he go and just start slaughtering a whole bunch of dark people? Then is that what
Well,
happens?
Taken. Again, I haven't seen the other ones, but I like Taken. It was a decent movie. The idea was good. It was a good idea for a script. Decent acting. Liam plays that role really well. He's saving his family or saving people as I guess a mercenary. Uh, but as far as playing off of your uh, the problems in your life, playing off of whatever stress levels you have. That's one thing. People play video games, people go to movies, whatever. But when you add in race into it, I mean, if we look, if black folks, native folks, for example, wanted to do that, my gosh, there would be an actual race war because of all the shit white people keep doing to us. Well, geez, next time I see a white person, I'm gonna beat the hell out of him. I mean, if I felt like Liam Neeson in reverse, I'd be on death row every damn day. Oh my gosh, white guy, white woman, shut up. What are you saying? Gee whiz, I'm sick of you. I mean, again, this white society, it's a white mindset. White folks are the oppressors. Yet again, trying to flip the blame, flip it on its head. Any
it's just this
chance
whole.
they can get to further inflict pain on us, further erase what racism actually is, they take it. And Liam took it.
But it's a random person. That's what blows my mind. Does he not see how guilty that makes him? You're just gonna go beat a random person to death with a stick because somebody got raped by somebody of that dude's race.
He
But look,
said,
This poor innocent person doesn't even know what's happening. He just gets killed. Is that what happens? And then that gets just as how.
look at society. Look at Charlottesville. Look at all the idiots out there in the fucking red hats. This is what's selling. This is why he's doing it.
but, and it's funny, during the interview, it's those half-assed white apologies. Liam's going, I went, and this is a direct quote. I went up and down areas with a Kosh, hoping I'd be approached by somebody. I'm ashamed to say I did it for maybe a week, hoping some quote unquote black bastard would come out of a pub and have a go at
Yeah,
me or something,
yeah, you see that?
so that I could kill him. Actual quote. Kill him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now think back to 2016. If you heard that quote, would you think Donald Trump maybe would have said it? Because it's
It's
the same.
possible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same bullshit. And Liam Neeson is just trying to be a European Charles Bronson. That's all he's doing.
Oh, so he's going for the crowd with the money that will spend on anything that riles him up.
That's all he is.
So you
And
think
Glenn,
you think this is a plan like they'll call you racist, but so what? You're gonna make so much money off the racists, it doesn't even matter.
they pulled the film, the movie premiere. So I, mean, I don't know how much or if any this was premeditated or planned by him in the studio.
Wait, they
Maybe it was.
pulled the premiere, but they didn't pull it out the box office release, right? They just stopped the premiere with the celebrities going together.
I think premiere. So I mean, to Glenn's point, if you delve deep into this, you look at. I'm just speaking of science. Uh, White folks have lacking empathy for people of color. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have a negative bias against people of color. And you hear a white dude who's one of the most popular actors, one of the most popular action film stars of the last 25 years, say something like that. Yeah, that's going to get people in the seats, certain people in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. We still, television networks still play John Wayne's film. The man proudly said, I'm proud to be a white supremacist. He said it. White supremacist, me pointing at me. I'm John Wayne. Look at me. And we're still playing his racist ass movies where he's playing Genghis Khan, where he's slaughtering Native people. He said the Native people didn't know what to do with the land. I mean, we conquered it. Get over it. Shut up. This is John Wayne's own word.
He said more than that.
I can go on for a while. On John Wayne.
Read the article. There's an article. It's from Playboy, I believe.
And these are his own words. There's an airport about I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes from my house. John Wayne Airport, Southern California, Liberal Central.
Yeah, you got Christopher Columbus Transnational Highway too. So
Indian Head Highway in Virginia, Washington D.C., Jefferson City, Missouri, Mississippi. You go on and on and on and on. Washington State, which Washington State is a very liberal state. Seattle, etc. Yeah, we're naming things after our Nazis. We're naming things after people who literally inspired the Nazis and inspired Hitler to create the damn Holocaust. But this is white society. This is what we're living in. This is what is either apologized for, or as Glenn so eloquently put it, this is what is accepted and applauded.
And there's money in it.
Yeah, plenty of money. Look how much the military gets for slaughtering people of color day after day. Give them another trillion. It's cool.
So it's just they're gonna get their little slap on the wrist, get call some names, and go back to doing movies, and people will forget pretty much.
It happened. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's it seems to be how it works, right?
Adam Sandler made one of the most racist movies ever in Ridiculous Six. It was so disrespectful to Native people. Native people were understandably up in arms about it. I believe
they walked off the set.
The number of Native actors walked off the set. He's still able to make whatever just awful movies he wants. Jack and Jill, for example. Ted Danson, who was dating Whoopi Goldberg at the time. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Whoopi. She didn't beat the hell out of him during this time, but he's at the Friars Club in blackface and talking to what's the dude's Sherman? I think Sherman Hemsley, Mr. George Jefferson, and some of the most racist, barbaric forms of bigotry you will ever hear in your life. You would have thought it was 1843 in South Carolina. And this is being recorded. And Hemsley somehow held his cool, didn't really criticize him that much or at all. And they didn't cut the tape. Then he went to the podium, stayed in blackface. Whoopi's like, I don't know, 10 feet away from him, sitting down. And this is in the early, and he's using the word nigger repeatedly. It's a comedy set, so it's okay. I mean, my goodness. And this is in the early 90s. This guy was on Cheers, one of the most popular shows in the history of the world. This guy was on Becker, which is a semi-popular show on CBS. He's been allowed to act in movies and TV shows. He was on The Simpsons. He guest starred on The Simpsons a year after the thing at the Friars Club happened. Curb Your Enthusiasm, I believe, is still on, and he's been on Curb Your Enthusiasm a bunch of times. He's beloved in Hollywood, just like so many other racist white actors who say and or do something racist. People look the other way. to end this rant, I've tweeted this before. 2 of the 3 American late night TV hosts have dressed in blackface on television. Jimmy Fallon, who getting paid about $15 million a year from NBC to do Johnny Carson's former job on The Tonight Show, and Jimmy Kimmel on ABC being paid about $15 million, dressed in blackface on TV. And we're like, whatever. But then randomly, certain forms of blackface the society gets upset about. I mean, that's one thing that drives me absolutely batty, is the absolute hypocrisy, the hollowness of white society's outrage to racism, bigotry, and oppression. If it's okay here but not okay here, what are you even talking about? Why are you upset? It's like the Candace Owens thing. Oh, she says horrible stuff about Hitler, defending him. Well, yeah, that's horrible. She's an idiot. But we're going to give Obama a pass for praising Columbus and Washington, the founding fathers. We're going to give McAuliffe, the former governor of Virginia, for praising Washington and saying, no, you can't take down the Washington Monument. We're going to defend all these folks for saying all these racist things over and over, and randomly we'll get upset about it occasionally for some random reason. Maybe it catches the news cycle and hits it with fervor. That's why we will be upset about this one thing.
Yeah, you guys are both right. It's the culture. On both of these, it's the culture of this shithole country we're in here.
94% of film studios have CEOs that are white men. 100% of film studios are men.
Or what?
100% of film studios, CEOs, men. 94% of the CEOs of film studios, white men.
White men. I didn't know that. You're talking about the major film studios, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't 100% of all.
I mean, you can make a film studio in your basement if you wanted to, let alone the independent one that's successful. But yeah.
Yeah, so screw these racist actors and actresses and their apologists, and screw the racist politicians, and screw the Democrats for putting up with all this stuff they're going to put up with. And they need to shut up when they talk about Republicans. So, yeah, we need to move on to we're going to run out of time soon. So, more than 20,000 women and girls were kidnapped from Nigeria and trafficked in Mali. But the politicians who quote-unquote care about human trafficking and the mainstream media are both silent about this. So something we haven't heard about. I mean, there's been a few articles, but nothing major where it's like on blast. You have a woman who, I think we just said, the McCains blamed some dark-skinned women for having a light baby and called the police. It's been all over the news. But 20,000 women and girls are found that have been trafficked, and there's not so much, you know what I mean? Why is that? Is that because they're African?
They're black. That's first off. Second is they're women. Third is a big business in sexual slavery, especially with girls and women of color. And I will say that most of these women and girls are still missing. They're still captive. And according to one of these agencies, the International Organization for Migration, they said 41 of the women and girls have been repatriated. They're working on returning the others home. So that's obviously talking about, so tens of thousands are missing, and horrendous things are happening to them. And we have really, you look at northern Africa, for goodness sake, you get the western part with Mali being the hub of the Nigerian girls and women being taken and put through sex trafficking. And then you got the other side in Libya, where women and girls are being, and men and boys are being taken as slaves, and women and girls being gang raped, having very dangerous guards leering at them, assaulting them, being hit. These women and girls are being held in detention centers, and when the black folks are trying to escape Libya, we're trying, like I was saying before, with trying to get to a more a safer land, a safer society. A society comes in and blows everything up. We're going across the water trying to get to Europe, and our dead bodies are being washed up on the shore, or we get to a European country and they arrest us, or they send us back, or they put us in through forced prostitution, other form of talk about sexual slavery. So this is, again, sadly, like most of the things we're talking about today, very normal. A stat here: 9.2 million people are living in chains in Africa. Women and girls make up 71% of those victims.
9.2 million, you said?
9.2 million.
Wow.
So for all the people who say slavery's over, get over it, well, then stop enslaving us.
Yeah.
It'd be easier for us to move on if you stop doing it.
My turn?
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, the reason we haven't heard about all these Nigerian girls before is because there was no political premium in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing to be gained by it becoming part of the, what do I call it, international affairs in North America. As far as Mali goes, with that being the destination for them, that's pretty interesting because, I don't think a lot of Americans are aware, but there's an international effort underway to make sure Mali is not the new Sudan, and what has been going on like a decade now with Sudan and South Sudan, and an awful lot of abductions there, an awful lot of Islamic radicalism. Mali has a lot of minerals that are up for grabs. There are Canadian mining corporations there, of course. And surprisingly enough, Canada is on the UN peacekeeping mission to Mali. And it was agreed to not really that long ago, a couple years ago. And we're leaving when we're done this year, which is a big surprise. So either things are ready to really fucking blow up there, and we just don't have the depth to deal with it. No Canadian government wants to make the next Afghanistan for Canada. So either we're getting out because shit's going to hit the fan and we don't want to wear it, or it's just about over. One or the other. But the thing is, it's been so quiet. It's very hard to say what the hell's going on there. But like I said, there are, billions upon billions of dollars in minerals to be had in Mali. Gold, cobalt, some copper, just like everywhere else in West Central Africa. And I think the reason we're not hearing much about the girls coming from Nigeria, if this would have been 8 years ago, we would have been hearing about it. But what's changed in that time? Well, Nigeria has actually stood up to the Seven Sisters of Petroleum. Royal Dutch Shell has been through hell in Nigeria, deservedly so, in the last 5-6 years. And they've nationalized a lot of their oil fields that they had given away to the international oil and gas conglomerate. So they're not getting much mercy anymore. So, I mean, yeah, it's been, like you said, Nolan, it's been going on for a long time, and the numbers are huge. And it is a massive global industry. And there are billions of dollars involved trafficking people's lives. But, you know, like everything else, like the culture has prescribed, if there's not a nickel to be made or a vote to be swayed in the United States, then the United States doesn't need to know.
There's one woman, she's Mexican, but I just bring this up because human trafficking, people of color, women of color, girls of color, so prevalent. She says she was raped 43,200 times. The story came out in 2017. So, and you talk about Africa, especially someone like Mali. There's a reason why, there's multiple reasons, but one major reason why Africa has been carved out like steak over the last 500 years is because of the resources that you mentioned, Glenn.
Yeah.
Mali, especially, if people actually study their damn history, the richest person in the history of the world is not named Bezos, is not named Gates. His name was Mansa Musa, leader of the former Mali Empire. And his wealth far surpasses Gates, Bezos, anybody living today. And unlike someone like Bezos or Gates, capitalism, he took from the top his riches and gave to the bottom, helping other African nations, helping poor societies within Mali, or poorer societies within Mali. And the way women and girls, black women and girls, Native women and girls over here in Canada, the United States, Mexico, South America, etc., they're not viewed as humans. People of color, especially black and Native people, aren't viewed as humans, but especially women and girls. It's been proven black girls are viewed as more adult. They are viewed by white folks as not really having any innocence. And that goes back to slavery. If you're going to rape girls, if you're going to rape women, if you're going to turn them into your personal property to do whatever god-awful whims that you see fit, and you continue that, well, geez, the people seeing this are going to kind of go, well, I guess that's just normal, and that's how they are. And white folks teach their children, they teach their society to treat our women like that, our girls like that. And it's an absolute shame that because of colonization, majority of Africa has bought into capitalism, has bought into the fox, the fake version of democracy, the whole, liberalism, conservatism, ideals that white society holds so dear instead of our own. And thankfully, because of the internet, because of the extra information that's out there, like you said, Glenn, about how we're fighting back against outsiders trying to take our resources. You're seeing that a little bit more, at least in recent years, like South Africa fighting back against the white farmers who, and their fathers, their grandfathers, who took our land. You're seeing the leader of Ghana calling out France, and Macron said, look, Stop messing with us. We want to be self-reliant. Go away. Let us be us. And that's something I preach so heavily, is we need to stop believing in a sword that stabbed us in the heart, continues to stab us in the heart, and go with what worked for us for thousands of years in so many of our different societies in Africa. Because before slavery happened, we were pretty darn successful. We were pretty darn happy. We were free, for goodness sake. And I'd like to add that although it's a very troublesome subject, but it is what it is, it wasn't just white folks who came in and invaded Africa. It was some Arab folks as well. And people have this mythical idea that certain parts of northern Africa weren't always black. There's a reason why Morocco is viewed as an Arab country. There's a reason why you have Islamic terrorist groups messing with Somalia, Sudan, Nigeria, like Boko Haram, for example, Nigeria, because of outside influences that have messed with our nations, our societies, and our people. And I do believe Arab folks and black folks need to unite and be in solidarity with each other. But in order for that to happen, we need to recognize the history and how the current reality has been affected by that. So someone like Egypt, black folks are treated horribly, and contrary to popular belief, like certain things like the Prince of Egypt or gods and kings or the Ten Commandments, racism from Hollywood, Egypt used to be completely black. Pharaohs, black.
It is in Africa.
Yeah. So let's be real here. But back to the issue at hand. The way the news cycle works in Western culture, the story will come out, and if it's a tragedy like this, the story will come out, oh, that's horrible if people hear about it. I hope they're okay. I hope they're found, these girls are found and made safe. And then they just forget about it, and they just hope it gets better. We're going to see, people reading, like, if they see the headlines of 20,000 Nigerian, the one I'm looking at, 20,000 Nigerian women and girls sold as sex slaves after being promised jobs in Malaysia. They kind of maybe go like, and then you keep reading. It's like, this has happened over the last number of years, a couple decades. So I guess it's over with, and they're safe, maybe, hopefully. And I'm just going to go out and do whatever and forget about it.
20,000 people.
Well, you got hundreds of thousands of folks in Libya as slaves. You got thousands of people dying trying to get to Europe, trying to escape Libya. You've got in Mali, more than 200 sites scattered across Mali, the southern Mali actually, with 100 to 150 women and girls kept in each site. Ages go from between about 16 to 30. And the article I'm reading from now, and this is present tense, the women and girls are said to be held, meaning currently, in horrible slave-like conditions. They are being kept because they can't escape because they are being kept in remote locations like deep in the forest, which then furthers one of those racist myths that say, we're just monkeys living in the jungle. Well, you put us in read the history. You're forcing us into horrible living conditions. Same with Native folks over here. Native people didn't live on reservations before white people came. We didn't just be forced to march in the Sahara Desert before white people came over here to Africa.
Well, the issue is this is very similar to the Boko Haram stuff that went on.
Yes, we're not getting any audio all of a sudden. on the
Well,
feed.
we hear each other.
Okay,
Coming
yeah,
out.
it says it's recording and still going, so hopefully it's picking.
Or
Oh, it says okay now. Never
Okay,
mind.
okay.
that was probably the FBI is
Thank you,
trying.
Celeb Scolder.
Yeah.
See, now this is very similar to what happened with Boko Haram, but that was made into a political issue by the First Lady. That was her cause. And it, all things considered, that was good. That was a good thing. But she didn't do it just because she thought it sucked. She did it because it suited her purpose. But the other thing I want to say is, Mali is about the size of Texas. Mali is no little Central African republic. Wow, that was trippy. I heard that. But, Mali's a big place as far as an African nation goes.
Used to be bigger too.
Yeah, exactly. It's been cut up, it's been sized on a map. But there is just so much potential there. And you say, well, they're hiding in the forests. Well, forests, you say? In Africa? In Western Africa? Well, we're certainly not going to let the military go in there and napalm them out. Then how the fuck do we make money off the trees?
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things that don't get paid attention to about what's driving all this. And it's been a model of the multinationals since Vietnam, basically, that just destabilize the shit out of the place where you want to take the resources. Expose them to a dependent, decadent way of life. Don't give them any other options. And once you get their entire culture and society off track, you roll in and you pass out some crumbs and you're gold. This is the thing. I mean, even the situation, of course, the so-called rebels in Mali are all made out to be radical Islamists and all the usual. But nobody makes the point. They're Malians. It's their place.
It's like the Houthis in Yemen or Hamas.
Exactly.
In Palestine. You can agree or disagree with how they're trying to defend their land, which again has been continued to be impeded upon. But like you said, it's their land. They're the citizens of that nation.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. And if they were left alone in the first place, we wouldn't be here.
Yep.
You go back to the Berlin Conference. If anybody knows about that, back in the late 19th century. France, Germany, England, Italy, Portugal, Holland, Belgium, coming to the table going, look. Okay. A lot of us already have interests in Africa. We got land in Africa. We got colonies. But let's cut this up even further. Let's treat this continent like a steak. And the nations got smaller, and then the borders got more borders, and those borders got more confusing. More mass murder, more colonization, something like HIV, AIDS, that gets created because of colonialism, because you're pushing the citizens of that land onto places where they shouldn't even be living in the first place. Your colonial practices are creating very unsafe, unsanitary conditions. And something like Belgium. I mean, again, bring up Candace Owens, for example. What she said, again, stupid, horrible, disgusting, bigoted, etc. Find your negative adjective and use it when criticizing her. Then again, why are we okay with King Leopold? And Belgium, by the way, has a bunch of statues of King Leopold right now in Belgium, who killed more black people than Hitler killed Jewish people. I think it's double because the figures are about 10 to 20 million black people. He cut off our arms. He wanted us to find as much rubber for him as humanly possible. So this is, again, a continuation. You look at someone, I mentioned Holland in that Berlin conference. They still have they have racist festivals. They dress in blackface still over there. I mean, this is how, I wish it wasn't so, just since my family is half white, but this is how white people treat us. This is what they think about us. If 20,000 women and girls were missing and put in sex slavery in Paris, France, the world would be losing its shit. Okay, there are thousands of children, thousands of people that have disappeared in Mexico. If that was in Dublin, people would be losing their ever-loving minds. But there's a color difference, and you can read your scientific research. When white people see colored people go through pain and anguish and suffering, they just don't care. When they see white people go through suffering, they go, oh wow, that's awful. And if you look at these studies, one of them was done by the University of Toronto. When black people, for example, see white people go through pain, they say, oh, that sucks. I feel for them. Then they see, of course, us, black people see black people going through pain, oh, that sucks, that's awful. So that needs to be put at the head of the table. One reason why this stuff keeps happening, one reason why I could not find many articles about these 20,000 women and girls in sex slavery, Nigerian girls, it's because people don't care as much or at all when it's people of color. And I tried, especially, we have 3 men on the show right now. I tried looking for women of color or woman of color who's covering this story, and I could only find one because the articles are so scattered, and then some are just for someone like CNN. Man is writing it, but I emailed that woman, didn't hear back. I hold nothing against her, but I wanted to bring, especially if I could, a black woman on here who's been covering the story to talk about it, because, and that's another thing, it's hard to fix something when you don't have the people who are being victimized at the front of the table, right at the podium with the microphone in their face. Too often we have other groups of people or white folks speaking for us. I remember when Aretha Franklin was sick and died, you had white folks just writing all these articles and viewing her life, which a lot of it was activism in the civil rights movement, from a white lens. So go ahead.
That's because the culture had accepted Aretha into the white side. That's why. Because the white culture appropriated Aretha Franklin to make white culture cool.
Yeah.
That's the deal. That's the goddamn deal. It's, I think that's the one thing we got across today is there are no accidents, people. Just pay attention to what's been going on. Not just last week. How about when you went to high school? How about when you used to watch TV as your kid? Do you see any fucking connection? This is the thing. This is why it seems so impossible to change things because it's working exactly as it's designed.
Surrounded by it everywhere.
You know, I mean, like you talk about the shit that still goes on in Netherlands, in Holland. It's their society that keeps that overt racism there. They choose to do it by their culture. And I mean, I can remember maybe less than 30 years ago, Holland had a very good World Cup team, as they have many times.
Mm-hmm.
But their stars were basically from Dutch territories, Suriname, a couple other islands, and the opinion of Dutch fans, in other words, whitey wooden boots, they shit on these guys. You know? It's like they didn't even consider them Dutch. But yet without them, they'd be nowhere near as good as they were. That's their culture. And as long as that's perpetuated, as long as it's kind of unspoken that that's okay, ain't nothing ever going to change.
No. Yeah, it's sad. I've stopped watching. I used to cover it. I used to study as a kid the NFL, and I've stopped watching. I can't do it with what they do to Native people in Washington and Kansas City, the Miami Dolphin Stadium's built on the Native burial ground. What they're doing to black people for protesting, the stuff, the hiding, all the dangers of playing football with the CTE and all that. I can't do it anymore. And I have basically replaced soccer, mainly European soccer, with football, or replaced football with the old school football. But nevertheless, to get to my point, my favorite team is AC Milan. That's in Italy. They've won the second most European Cups, which is basically the Super Bowl of soccer. About the last time we won a league title was, I think, in 2011. Our goalkeeper, was a man named Christian Abbiati. He was a publicly admitted fascist.
Yep.
We had, yes.
Yeah.
He was good too for a little bit. I mean, he helped us win a league title, but he was a racist and a fascist. The formation of our team, back I think in 1899, we would not let any players who were not from Italy play for our team. Now, when I started watching soccer, I was like, who I'm rooting? I don't know who to root for. I don't know. I'm growing up in America. People say that soccer is a weak sport. Blah blah blah. I don't know anything about it, so I learned about it. Okay, that's the team I like. That's the team I'm going with. Now, we have a rival called Internazionale Milano, also known as Inter Milan. The reason Inter Milan was formed, I was taught to hate Inter Milan, they're our rival, is because they were a part of us, and our club, and they went, wait a minute, why are we blocking players from other countries for playing for our team? Y'all are ridiculous. We're going to go form our own team, hence the Internazionale. So our rival is an act of defiance against xenophobia. That's my team was created off of xenophobia.
Okay. Well, I can add to that because since the late 70s, I've been an Inter fan. I've probably had 5 Inter jerseys in my lifetime.
Oh my!
And even that, which is just like Real and Atletico in Madrid. Or
Barca and Real Madrid.
Yeah, no, but I mean same city.
Oh, right, yes.
You know, and even that is politically based. It's a view of culturally based.
Mm-hmm.
The xenophobic AC and we don't have an exclusive on this game internazionale. It's everything seems to come down to how culture views itself. And it used to be more natural, I think. I mean, some advanced, some didn't. That was basically a reflection on the populations. But that no longer applies, obviously. Now it's brute force with exposure and saturation and the money to do it. That's how you change cultures. You change a culture, you change the rules. And we see how things are changing.
Oh, yeah. And recently, this season, Inter fans hurled horrible racial epithets at one of the best players in the world, a man named, I'm going to botch his first name, Kedrick Koulibaly. And Inter was actually penalized with a couple games where their nobody was allowed in the stadium in terms of fans. They had to play without fans for a couple games. And you talked about Holland. Part of AC Milan's huge success in the 80s were because of black Dutch players. Ruud Gullit, for example, Frank Rijkaard, who coached Barcelona to a Champions League final and win.
Patrick Kluivert,
who is a son, Justin Kluivert, who plays for Roma. Now I'm getting into soccer fan territory, so forgive me.
You know what?
But
I'm left out. I don't know any people. but my thought right now from what you guys are saying is we should just abolish soccer and football. Or football and football, however.
Look, if that I've actually had that exact realization myself, which really annoys me because at the core, American football, if you take the violence away from it, it's a beautiful dance of controlled chaos. There's actually a lot of intelligence that goes into it. Now, soccer, original football, it is called the beautiful game for a reason. Some of the greatest forms of athleticism you'll ever see will take place on a soccer pitch. But at the same time, because of white society, because of colonialism, white supremacy, etc., these entities are ruined, and you could say in part even the creations of it, as they were being created, people were not let in, people of color, to play. It would do more good than harm if you just magically didn't have football or soccer anymore. There are African boys that are being plucked from my motherland, promised that, by very distrustworthy agents, going, hey, look, sign with me. I'll get you to play for one of the big clubs in Europe. I'll get you a tryout. Don't worry about it. But then they get their parents or their family to pay for all this money to go across into Europe, and they end up homeless. They wind up in prostitution. Basically, it's a modern form of slavery, and it's through soccer. And some of the big clubs are guilty of it.
Okay.
And it's so if you eliminated it, like the NFL with the Washington, Kansas City actually adds to the youth native suicide rate. You have native kids writing in the suicide notes that the Washington Red slur and the mascot and the Kansas City Chiefs and Cleveland quote unquote Indians, etc. That makes me feel like less of a person. I don't have any confidence. I hate life. I'm done. Get me. I'm by everybody. Yeah, it's sad. You're right, Tim. But it's true. If you got rid of football and soccer, the world would actually be a better place. Also, just from the violence standpoint. Also in soccer, they're finding CTE and dementia years after players have played the sport at the high level because of the heading of the ball. And the high speeds head, the ball comes at the head. The player heads the ball to knock it away from the goal in defense or to try to score in attack.
We're humans, not dolphins.
Yeah, well, and it's an utter shame that is, that is true. I agree with you. And I was watching a little YouTube video.
We're running out of time, Nolan. So you gotta bring it back home. Come on.
bring it back home. There's a YouTube channel, soccer. They do great videos, in-depth videos, Tifo football, and they were talking about Athletic Club Bilbao, which is in the Basque Country in Spain, and they only let people connected to the Basque Country play for their team. This has always been the case. They didn't let a black player play for them, sign with them, until the 2000s. Now, the Basque Country is an oppressed group of people. These are the people trying to get independence from Spain, and yet, you look at someone like Israel, like, well, wait a minute, we're oppressed, the Jewish people, and then we're going to throw it on somebody else, like Palestinians. Now, obviously, this is just a soccer club, so it's nothing like talking about genocide or anything like that. But to wrap that up, you're not letting other people from other parts of the world, or even your own, Spain, play for you because of some outdated, at the beginning. Oh yeah, Basque pride, that's great, but a little outdated here. You haven't had let a black player play for you till the 2000s. I mean, but again, to put this back into the center circle. This is white society. This is Western society. We need to recognize it for what it is. We need to stop coddling it. We need to stop letting people like Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Mel Gibson, Mark Wahlberg come on to Kimmel, Fallon, and Colbert and have them be they're our stars, or they're our leaders. We should love them unconditionally and give them unconditional respect. We have to call out evil for what it is.
Exactly. That was a perfect way to wrap it. Anything you need to say, Glenn, before we wrap it up?
One thing I will say that'll matter more to you guys than to me. The LA attorney has agreed to drop charges against Melina Abdullah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be good news, right?
Yeah, that is good news.
That is very good news. She's done a lot of good work here. I've talked to her before. She works her behind off for black folks.
They said she can't get arrested for 6 months and the charges will be dropped.
There's always a caveat there.
Well, yeah, I'm just hoping, like she was arrested for nothing the first time, is going to a city council meeting. So it's like, I'm just wondering if they're going to do this again as a trap or something.
Well, that's up to her then. What they're basically saying is we don't want to see you in council for at least 6 more months.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah.
Just go home, binge watch Empire, and don't organize. Don't fight back. And then 6 months we'll talk.
I don't know.
Yeah, the machine will still be here. Don't worry about it.
You're gonna let us end on a down note now, Glenn. I thought 6 months we were all gonna be free.
Yeah, but look at it this way: if Garcetti was still in charge of the judicial system, she could be in prison for the next 5 years, and that's not happening. So, hey,
yeah, whatever works, right? I agree.
Lesser of two evils. It's not as bad.
All right.
This is why it's so hard for me to be happy. I'm like, it still sucks. Sucks. Am I supposed to be happy about this?
Well, I guess what the real headline should be is injustice stunted for a change.
I like that.
For a change.
Injustice stunted for a change. Great way to end the show. Thank you, guys. And thank you, listeners. We will see you next week. Some same time-ish. All right.
2 to 2:15. We'll see you then.
Yeah, sometime in between there. All right, we're out. Almost.